been having the hardest time trying to talk about stuff for the most part. You know, I've been realizing that a lot of times I am in some weird way being somewhat inspirational. That's not my thing. Not all the way. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, or it comes up in conversation. But like a lot of times, for real, like I be sounding like I'm just gonna be inspirational, call it a day, and everything's gonna be great and wonderful. And it's like, oh goodness gracious. Oh whoa, oh wow, really? You just gonna sit in front of me like that? Really, really? Oh, and you just gonna y'all gonna do that? Y'all gonna do that? That's so messed up. That's so messed up. I think the older you get, the more you try to like give people lessons that will help them to not do what you did. You know what I'm saying? But most people don't want to hear it. They literally have other things to do. You know, like I've been slowly but surely understanding this. You know, sometimes I be just want to just like, look, I'm here, I'm having fun. You know, I'm chilling out, I'm living life, let me live my life, call it a day. But at the same time, you know, when I make those horrible mistakes, I'd be like, man, I wish somebody would have told me. And then like the time that somebody could have told you, you was like, nah, I don't want to hear that. You know, it's a weird kind of dichotomy of how things play out. It's weird, but it's true, you know. I mean, like, But you know what? You know what I honestly love about... I'm being for real, though. You know what I actually love about this game? I'm not even trying to, you know, move the conversation in a certain way. The reason why I like playing this game mostly... Or the most... Or however way you say that properly, I don't care. The reason why I like playing this game so much is because a lot of times you can just go in an area, level up, chill out, you know, find the area that works for you, and then just go. You know, you can just mildly level up, you know? And you don't have to do the whole turn-based thing. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with turn-based. And I'm not saying that just to be, you know, cancel culture free or whatever you want to call it. You know, it's more like, yeah, you know, you can just level up and get stronger and get better and have a good time. Like, this to me is how can I say? For the most part, just comfortable. Like I can just sit back and be mindless. You know how comfortable that is? Back or your leg or this week or nope, it's everything is in the game. That's where it's at. Whoever's your favorite team. You know, favorite player, stats, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards. Everything is about just that specific moment, and that's it. That's all. You just mindlessly do that. You know, whether they win or lose, it really doesn't matter. I mean, it does, but it's like everything else kind of just like pales unless it's really, really serious for the most part. And you can just have a good time. You know? And you get around folks who probably like doing the same thing, or you're emotional. Why? You could be taking out trash. You could be going upstairs, you know, and putting some on YouTube and chilling out, or doing absolutely something else that's constructive. And the only thing you can possibly say is, I'm watching the football game. That's all I'm doing. That's what I want to do. Let me watch my football game in peace and call it a day. That's it. It's fun. Like, honestly, and I don't want to pay $2,000 for a game that used to cost like $20. Oh, it's sealed. I understand the value, but let's be frank. Scalpers get in this game, and it's like, Oh, if it's valuable, we take it. You know, like you ever see scalpers when they go to like Target or Walmart and they get every single Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon card or something like that, and then they just, you know, they basically hawk them on like Whatnot or Facebook Market or eBay, and you know, which don't get me wrong, you know, that's what you want to do as a business. It's different, but when you're just scalping just cause, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're doing it as a business, let me say it like this: if you are, you know, a reseller and you're just, you know, trying to make a living and, you know, stuff like that, that's fine. But if you're nothing but an actual scalper, you know what I'm saying? Like, actually, just that's all you're doing. You don't care about nothing else. You don't care about the item that you have. You don't care. None of it matters. Like, remember back in the day, nobody cared that a video game was sealed. Nobody honestly cared until, like, I guess the recent generation, because everything is now digital. So, or it's not on a digital platform or Xbox Live or PlayStation Network or something like that, and they take it off. Now it becomes extremely valuable. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would love to play Mega Man. What was it? X4, I think X4 or X5. I can't remember. It was X4 or X5 where, you know, I think, who was it? You finally meet Zero. I think it's, yeah, you finally meet Zero, and I think one of the characters you fight does, like, you know, the Dragon Punch from Street Fighter or something like that. You know, I think it's like a dog wolf kind of dude or something. But anyway, if it's 4 or 5, don't quote me, because I don't know right now. I'm focused on this. But, you know, even if that game is $50 now, and I'll pay that. I'm not gonna lie to you on that. I will pay that. But then, you know, you try to find, and quote me on this one, Mega Man Legends 1 and 2. They're probably between 70 to at this point, and it's like 2026. You know, and the market fluctuates like crazy. But now they're like, oh, it's $200 and $300, and then the offshoot game, you know, I think I forgot what they call the villains from the series, and they had their own, you know, video game. Now that's like $500-$600. I'm like, whether it's inbox or not inbox or something like that, and it's like, look, I just want to play the game. Oh, I leveled up, yay! I'm gonna wait till everybody else levels up before I go and do anything else. But I just want to play the game. You know? $500. Sealed. You can't play the game. It's like having an action figure as a kid, and because you chose to be a kid and open the game and open the action figure, it's wrong because now it kills the value. When I was a kid, it was worth like what, $5-10, something like that. Why? Because I was 10 land. You see what I'm saying? Like back in the day, man, like X-Men, Fantastic Four, anything, any action figures that was connected with that, right? And let's be frank, back in the day, the dollar store had like really bad, cheap action figures, and they probably still do now. But you know, if you could, you know, I will never forget. It was this rip-off Ken Masters action figure. You know what I'm saying? It was, you know, imagine. Wait, did everybody? Oh wow, let me see. Imagine, yeah, just imagine old Street Fighter characters, but they were in that tall. I want to say, I'm trying to think. They were taller action figures. You know what I'm saying? Like the ones that you have to actually hold with your actual hand, and they're about as big as, they're taller than your hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, How can I put this? Because I'm trying to think of something size-wise. Um, they were as big as an old school, height-wise, about as big as an old school lotion bottle. That's how big they were. They came in a big old package. They were $1, less than $1, because you got them at you either got them at Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, something like that. You know what I'm saying? Dollar General, when they were actually when everything was actually $1. And you know, my mom bought it, and I played with the doll. It was an action figure doll. They're the same thing. You know. Oh, and I don't care. You know, you can judge me when I say that. I don't care. Action figures are dolls. Sorry, that's what they are. You know, the girls would get dolls and the guys would get action figures. That's just what they were. Okay. So my action figure, that was probably twice the size, maybe slightly bigger than a big guy's hand, right? Like a really tall guy's hand, right? Maybe I'll probably say about as big as probably about the size height wise if you would lay them next to somebody's 10-inch foot size. And those are pretty big figures. Made out of cheap plastic. Nobody cared. And you had a good time. That's what it was all about. You know? Just having a good time, enjoying yourself, and pretending. Like now, everything from Marvel and DC is about the story and progressing the story forward, and everything has to be canon. And if it's a one shot off, the one shot becomes canon. I'm like, there's no imagination. You know, it's all commercialized. You know, and don't get me wrong, I'm not against the capitalists, whatever. I'm not in those kind of conversations. But I'm saying is, as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid, before any technology that would hold your attention for a long period of time to a screen, you had a toy in your hand. It's just what it was. You know what I'm saying? You had fun. You didn't just, you know, do the whole model kit thing. You know, and if you did see somebody do that, they did it with like an old school plane. You know, like those fighter planes or something like that, or the cars or the ships. You know what I'm saying? And the bottles. You know, I'm not saying everybody was like that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, you know, when it came to regular action figures, that's what they had fun with. Like old school G.I. Joes. Remember how small, like, how small they were? Though. That was it. Oh, God. I don't want to be wrong. It was G.I. Joe. Yeah, it was G.I. Joe and Star Wars, right? Both of them were the exact same size, you know. And if you got them at a good price, that was fine. But if you didn't, where'd you go? Your mom probably went to Dollar Tree, Dollar Store, whatever kind of off-brand dollar store or whatever, and they would buy cheap action figures that would keep you busy for hours and hours on end, and you had a good time. That's what it was. You know, your mom might have, for Christmas or for a birthday, bought you Power Rangers. And that should tell you when they first came out, you know, in America. You know, if your mom really, really at a certain time could do this for you, she'll get all of the Power Rangers Megazord, you know what I'm saying? You know, and you spend time, old school Transformers and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Or get the rip-offs, you know, be it for real. Like, get the actual rip-off, you know, which, like I said, Dollar Tree, you know, or I think Dollar General, or whatever kind of dollar store, thrift stores, whatever. You know what I'm saying? If it was a cheap action figure, she bought it for you to keep you happy, you know, and you had a good time. You know what I'm saying? That way you ain't had to bug her about mess. And if you saw something on TV, you know, hey mom, can you go get ABC? And then, you know, if she wasn't rich, she did the best she could with what she had, and you was kind of happy. You didn't think about it majority of the time. You just said, okay, thank you. And you had fun. That's the whole thing. You actually had fun. You know what I'm saying? That was it. You know? You go to thrift stores, or you go to, at that time, which I would say probably 90s. You know, 1990s, something like that. You know what I'm saying? And, yeah, you'll find, and I remember, I'll never forget this. My mom went to the store, or my dad might have even brought it home, and he bought this, or he brought home this. I think what was it? No, it wasn't an alternator. It was the part that sat on top of the vehicle, so it could, fluctuate with gas and stuff like that, and like air. I don't know if it was air intake. It was a weird part. You know what I'm saying? Had the flaps up on the top to let air in and let air back out. You know what I'm saying? And it was on like most cars at the time. Like, I'm not a mechanic, so it is what it is. He laid it down somewhere, and it looked like a battleship. So as a kid, even though this thing was greasy and nasty, I used to play with this little part because it was broke anyway for hours. I didn't even know what it was. You know what I'm saying? But I would just go in my mind because I was watching Star Trek. At the time where the old school Star Trek show used to come on. In the middle of the day. Let me see what I want to do. I'll go with powers. I'm gonna lay into the strength a little bit. Yeah, that works. Yeah, I'll lay into his skills. Cool. I'll give her more health. And I think that's everybody. Ah, yes. I have leveled up his health to the max. Okay. I will put down here. Just put one down there, just to, one, see, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it's at 4, so it is what it is. And then I'll put the rest on his skill. Okay, is everybody at 30? 29, 29, okay. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. But yeah, like, you would just have a good time. Like, in all seriousness, it was all about just chilling out, and if for whatever reason, your cousins came over and, someone were little girls, you know what I'm saying, and you're a little boy, and they got their Barbies and you got your, like X-Men action figures, if you're having fun, you're like, Barbie gets to ride right beside Wolverine in this makeshift, cheap vehicle or whatever, you know what I'm saying, made out of all plastic, and it was worthless because you got it from got it from like Family Dollars or whatever. It was a vehicle that was just big enough for the both of them to just ride off, and you would go over weird terrain, and you would play out these movies, in your head or whatever, because you're playing pretend and you're just having a good time. And people make that stuff sound so stinking weird, and it's stupid. It is plainly stupid. I've always been the kind of person where, how can you say something is quote unquote cringe worthy when if you really look at it, when people don't have a childhood, they go out and buy it. You weren't allowed to play with trucks as a kid. You end up buying it, but that's supposed to be cringeworthy. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the craziness that would, it's something that's illegal or something like that. That's a whole different story. But it's like, whatever you didn't get to do as a kid, you now can do it as an adult. You wanted to look at comic books when you was a kid. Now you collect comic books like crazy, and then you want somebody to say something to you. You read books as a kid. Now you get to read as many books as you want as an adult. You get to listen to them as much as you want now. But when people try to run out and do the whole cringeworthy thing about it, or try to make you feel less than who you are, or they try to cash out on it You know, like, oh yeah, this is super valuable. You know, it's come on, it's a piece of plastic. Don't get me wrong. If I ever get the first issue of Superman, oh, understand, it is valuable. That is not a joke. But for me, I would rather see like people like what's the guy's name? King Lion and Impound, the guy who did Impound, and Comics Explained. Here, that's who it was. But yeah, like when you get to hear them talk about comic books and what people are doing, that is interesting to me, and it's fun. You know, like going to an not old school, going to a current comic book shop is like one of the best things in the world, because you get to be a kid again. You get to just have fun. You know. You know. You know, I mean, and let's be frank on something. A lot of times people would just, nowadays, oh, they got a whole showcase of action figures, probably sitting up on the wall somewhere in their basement. You know what I'm saying? And they have them until they're like beyond, beyond their shelf life. You know what I'm saying? Like, like an old school Wolverine figure, an old school Hulk figure, Incredible Hulk. Or or even the new action figures out now. Like they have one action figure out there right now that's actually 3D printed. It's a 3D printed action figure, and all they really do is, for the most part, have humongous swords or I can't say that. I can't say this. So they got pew pews. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's two-handed, like Deadpool, or one hand, like two-handed like Deadpool, or or two-handed pew pews. Hate to say it that way, like the Punisher. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's able to hit his target from like yards away with those. Anyway, but yeah, or like Cable. You know what I'm saying? If you know your X-Men history, his, man, it'd take out a whole mountain with that thing. But anyway, Blaster. I think I can say Blaster, right? But yeah, like 3D model action figure that if you have a 3D printer, you can probably get the specs off the website, or just buy them. And then you just pose them the way you want. Or let's be frank, if you are really a kid, you're gonna probably be sitting around. This might sound horrible and weird at the same time. Have your action figures out on the table and play with your action figures and call it a day. That's what it is. Heck, bring your kids in and just have a play date with your kids and have a good time. While you're watching X-Men '97 and go like, you know what, back in the day, Thor and Wolverine and blah blah blah, and they got their action figures in their hands and they're having fun and they got comic books all over the place while eating popcorn and you know what I'm saying, and you're just having a good time, your daughter comes downstairs and she's barely 7 and she's like 4 or 5 and she wants to play too, so you give her an action figure or a doll or whatever and say, okay, you tell us what to do, and then she's like, okay, and she looks at TV and like, now Captain American is evil. You like, okay, fine, yeah, he's evil, that's just what it is. And you just go with it, and you have a good time. You honestly you go with it. Any dads out there understand this. You just go with it. The kids get what they want to a certain degree. It's like, have a good time. You're a big kid at heart. Just, mom gets involved. You know what I'm saying? If everybody's cool and like, hey, but you tell her to go upstairs and for kicks and giggles, grab the box or whatever, small box of action figures and say, hey, can you bring them down right quicker? you know, while keeping the kids busy. And then she brings them down, and you tell her, hey, don't worry about the dishes, nothing like that. Let's just have some fun and chill out and stuff like that. And you just playing with the kids. You just having fun with the kids. You know. You know, your 1-year-old doesn't even know what's going on, so you just give the little 1-year-old, you know, like a bear or something like that, you know, and the 1-year-old just happy to just be playing around. And, you know, I mean, you know, these kind of things, they happen, man. And you can't get those kind of memories where you just stuck on a screen. You know? Nobody will understand. And I don't mean to sound like one of those old guys, but it is what it is. I'm like 40. You know what I'm saying? Being for real, I'm 40. So nobody will understand when you don't have the money to pay for an action figure. So your mom does her best and buys, like, you know, like 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 action figures from the Goodwill and between, you know, the dollar store or whatever, and you have the best time with you and your cousins, and you just chill out. You know, y'all play around. You know what I'm saying? Your mom puts on a movie, right? A little kiddie movie, and you just, you know, whatever the adventure movies or Fantastic Four or, you know, whatever action kung fu flick or something like that is out or whatever. Excuse me. And you just chill. Like, you know how magical that is? And people want to just, oh, that's weird. I'm like, well, you ain't got to deal with it. You know, stick your face on the screen and call it a day and shut up. You know, let other people have a good time. You know? Nobody argues when you sit in front of a screen for like 8 to 10 hours and you know, let's be frank, because I know I'm doing it right here. You know, you play games for 10 to 12 hours, you know, which I'm not saying, I'm not hating because I'm doing this right now. But you playing a game for 10 to 12 hours and, you know, you're cussing people out left and right and saying weird stuff and everybody's a part of it. And it's like, you shouldn't be saying that, but say it anyway because, you know, you're just having fun, but you're competitive. And it's like, you know, and then, but then, you know, you try to gatekeep and then, you know, what's the other stupid thing? Was it gatekeeping and oh man, it's stupid. That's why I don't want to remember it. That's to be honest with you, because it just kind of makes me mad. Like, how can you say you can't be part of a community? People right now are cosplaying, and because they don't share the same skin color, that they're wrong. You rarely ever see a dark-skinned, you know, anime character. So if that's all that's out, why would you shame somebody who might be Middle Eastern or might be, Latino X or whatever, and they want to just cosplay as Goku? For the most part, you know what I'm saying, that light skin, that dark hair, or not even Goku, just other. But when somebody who doesn't fit the description wants to cosplay as, like, do you know how many, now I don't want to say it like this, do you know how many people got mad when somebody who didn't fit the bill decided to be Sailor Moon? Sailor Moon, you know, blonde hair, blue eyes, you know what I'm saying? But somebody who, you know, was dark skinned decided to want to just have fun and just cosplay as it. I mean, and you know how much shame that person got? In the comments, of all places. In the community that's supposed to make this safe. Let's be clear, racism isn't supposed to be in cosplay. I mean, they show that destructiveness in Full Metal Alchemist. Literally. You know, but like I said, you know, it's like you gotta let it, you know, gotta let some of this crap go. Yeah, I get it. You know, Marvel's money. You know, Marvel has a lot of money and DC has a lot of money to do whatever, and I get that. You know, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, you just want to have fun. It's about having fun. These are fictional characters. These are action figures, no matter what they are. Action figures are meant to be played. Just like video games. Just like card games. They're meant for enjoyment. That's just what it is. If you want to make that a perverted thing, well, your sick mind needs to go somewhere else, being honest with you. But I can almost guarantee, you know, the only reason that things probably stayed sealed back then, instead of, you know, for whatever reason, probably because one, maybe somebody misplaced it, and you know, mom had it in usually, and I've seen this too many times. Mom probably had it sitting in the attic somewhere, and you forgot to open it up for Christmas or whatever. Or you weren't interested, or something happened, you know, and you didn't open it. Now everything that's sealed is valuable, and the only reason why it's valuable is because you can't get access to it anymore. That's it. That is truly what it is. Have fun. This, for me, is fun. Reading comic books is fun. Hanging out with friends is fun. You know? Talking about Dungeons and Dragons nowadays is fun. You know? Talking about the Matrix is fun. You know? Yeah, I'm not into Pokemon, but would I down somebody who is because they don't fit the description I want that I want them to? No. I'll commend them, say thank you for being a part of this community, and keep it pushing. You know, I'm not trying to sound like Gandhi or anything like that, but let's be frank. The more people you got in the crowd, the more ideas can be given, the more fun you can actually have. And that's just me being for it. That's just me being honest. You know? You know how many times I've been working out and as a younger man, and I learned something new from somebody else that caught me off guard? You know? I learned how to duck a punch by just learning how to sit down in a chair, of all places. You put one foot in front of the chair. You put the chair right behind you like you're about to sit down. But instead of your 2 feet in front of it, if you're orthodox or whatever, then your left leg would sit in front, or your left foot would sit in front of the seat, and your right foot would sit beside the seat. And then you would duck down. When you duck down, you put your hands near your cheek. And just when you just about to sit down, you know, a person would swing their arms across your head, and then when it clears, you get right back up. They take the seat away and say, okay, now do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Bob and weave. Then you learn how to do that walking forward. And I learned that from somebody else outside my circle. Having a good time. Doing my thing. Yeah. But alright, I played the game long enough. I've done my rant and raving. Wasn't even trying to, but you know, I'm just gonna call it because it's getting lit and I have to get up in the morning. But hey, look, this is Chaos Ribbit signing out, saying thank you. Have a blessed, wonderful, and fantastic day, night, or evening. Please, people, please learn to enjoy life. Whether it's, you know, the quote-unquote nerdy stuff, even if it isn't football, if it's just hanging out with friends, enjoy life. And truly enjoy life. Don't worry about what nobody else has to say. It doesn't matter. Because when you wake up, 9 times out of 10, that person isn't going to be next to you. And if you do see them, maybe that might not be the person for you. You know, if they're being that negative towards you. Alright? It's Chaos Ripper signing out saying, peace!